Hey, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Texas Prison Transparency Project. This is episode number 21. Yep, y'all hear that? 21. We're legal now. We're coming of age, y'all. So we're happy to be here again today. Ashlyn's not going to be on here with us today. She is with us, but she's taking care of something very important right now. So we're coming to y'all with another important message today. We're happy to declare Prison Transparency Project, HeartCheck Prison Strategies Group, and Favor Legal. We have declared this month that we are representing parole, and we are speaking and educating on the issue of parole in the state of Texas all month long. So in accordance with that, we've been posting on it. We've been gathering great information that we want everybody to know and be aware of. It's out there. It's online. Today, we brought on a very special guest, Brandon Kopic. The man represents Favor Legal, and I'm happy to say that we are all in partnership together, working towards this reform and true rehabilitation in the state of Texas to make conditions better for all human beings. To give all human beings, to afford human dignity, right? That's supposed to be one of our basic constitutional rights, basic human dignity. And it's all part of the process. Parole is a major aspect of the system, really one of the juggernauts in the Texas system, as we refer to it. And it gets very little scrutiny. It gets complained about a lot, but there's very little transparency, very little understanding, and very little public education on it. So we're trying to address these issues, man. Without further ado, Brandon, introduce yourself, man, what you're representing, and tell us what you come with today, brother man.
Again, my name is Brandon Kopic. I'm the senior managing partner of Favor Legal. Favor Legal is a paralegal firm. We specialize in those who are presently incarcerated or have been impacted by incarceration. Namely, we do a lot of parole assistance, so parole presentation packages, that sort of thing. But we do something that I don't know if anybody else does, is we actually assign our clients, depending on the package that they select, we assign our clients with a parole coach. And so we actually coach them through how to talk to their IPO. So
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So whenever I say IPO, I'm talking about the institutional parole officer, because inevitably, you and I have both been there. You're thinking for years, whenever I get in front of that person, this is what I'm going to say. And inevitably, you're so overcome that you forget all of those things, and you walk away from the meeting and you're like, oh crap, I forgot.
I should have said this and I should have said that.
Yeah. And so we really make it a point, our whole logo and motto is if you're Favor, your family. And that by knowing who I am and what we're all about. But in even dealing with our clients, it's like, I need to know who you are so that we can cater this whole thing to what your hopes, dreams, aspirations, and desires are. And then we also have to take into, and I have to know your offense, your background, those type of things. And I need to know what led you there.
Which is all confidential information.
Absolutely, 100%. And so in that, we want to make sure that we're looking at what parole's looking at. If parole's looking at it from a certain perspective, we want to try to give them a different perspective to look at it through. And so as we get into today's topics, we're gonna talk about some different aspects of that get really misconstrued because no one talks about it. And there's a lot of myths out there. And so I think that that's really going to be, this is going to be really informative for people coming up.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. I love how y'all offer the parole coaching. I've never heard of anybody else offering that before. Very unique. I really like that a lot. And people really need that because just what you described happens all the time. A man or a woman has been incarcerated for no telling how many years or decades, whatever the case may be. And you finally get a chance to speak for yourself. And you, like you said, you've been thinking about this, overthinking it for so many years. And man, it's natural that you're so nervous. You go in there and forget everything, or some people go in there and just fall apart, and they don't know what to say. And Absolutely. Then we regret that. And we wonder if we get a set off, we wonder if we blame ourselves. Is it because I messed up? I didn't I didn't speak well enough. I didn't give the right information. And, we go
Right.
to it, self-incriminalizing,
Right.
self-guilt, and man, all that can
Absolutely.
be remedied. All that can be
Absolutely.
remedied with some coaching. Yes.
Let me also say this too, is that, there's a provision in statute in the administrative code that permits a loved one to be able to speak on behalf of the offender to the lead voter. And
Yes.
it's not a right. It is something that they can request. And so when we coach the offender, the parolee, when we coach that client, we also coach the loved one.
The family
And
too. Yes.
and because here's the thing, is that here's one thing I know. This person may or may not have talked to parole before. This offender may or may not have been in front of an IPO before. So he has some
Right.
understanding. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, this person has never talked to a lead parole voter before. And so I
Right.
have to completely prepare them for what that talk looks like. And
Yes.
so and we'll kind of get into through our topics what we practice, a 4-part ideology with parole.
Okay.
And so it's a united front. The
Okay.
offender is saying the same thing, his packet says the same thing, and his loved one says the same thing. And so therefore what it shows is he's got his stuff together. He or she has their stuff together. They know exactly what's going on. They have a plan, they have support, and they are rehabilitated, they're remorseful. All of those things are super, super important.
Right. Everybody's on the same page and cohesive.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love that model, brother. That's good. So to jump in somewhere, unless you have a certain point you want to begin at, my mind is you've mentioned the IPO officer twice. A lot of people don't know who or what that is, or what a parole interview even is to begin with, the most basic kind with the IPO. A lot of misconceptions about this, because we see these videos on TV of like OJ Simpson or somebody going in front of his voters. And I think that a lot of people assume that's how we have it in Texas too, that your loved one gets to go in front of the people that are going to vote on him and speak. But that's not the case at all, is it, brother?
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing, is that unlike other states, Texas does not have we don't have a live interview process. And so now, if in some cases, if you have, there are certain instances where they do permit live interviews, but they're so few and far between. If somebody has more than 20 years, then they get an opportunity to talk to the commissioner. If
I'm
they've
going to
done more
address
than
that
20
point also.
Okay.
As soon as you're finished.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so other than that, the IPO is your only point of contact. And what happened was a lawsuit happened years ago where basically parole people in Texas were going, hey, we don't have anybody that we actually talk to. There's no point of contact. And so the court said, you're absolutely right. The legislator got together and said, hey, let's appoint IPOs, so it stands for Institutional Parole Officer. And
Institutional Parole Officer.
Yeah,
IPO.
so there is a parole officer that is to be assigned to every single unit. Now, because of staffing shortages, you have parole officers that are jumping from unit to unit. So sometimes
covering multiples.
Exactly. And so that being said, and then you have some units, like I made parole at Estelle. There were 2 parole IPOs there. So
I've seen that too.
And that person's job is to sit in front of you, take your documentation, and they're going to ask you questions. Now, I don't know about you, Shannon.
Yes, sir.
I talk a lot. So my parole interview is 3.5 hours long.
Hello, pot, meat kettle.
But here's the thing, is that I was prepared. I knew the narrative that I wanted to convey. And so now I will say this. I didn't make my first parole. I got set off on my 40th birthday, but I will say this, is I did not have the doubt that I didn't do enough. I took every class. I got 3 degrees. I told them everything that I needed to know. I just knew that it wasn't God's timing for me. And so I had to trust that. And
but you could take comfort in the fact that you knew you had done your part up to that point. That's what I used to tell a lot of guys too, is that, man, we can never do their part for them. Right. That's out of our control, out of our power. But it is upon us, upon you and me, to do everything that is actually within our power to give ourselves the best hope, the best chance, and the best odds of getting out of such a terrible place. and moving on with our life.
That's right. And you and
that's
I
on
know,
us.
yeah, you and I know that our journey did not start when we came under review. It started when
No.
we became institution, when we became indoctrinated into incarceration. And so we had to get our mind right. For me, it was I had a son that was 4 when I got locked up, who just turned 18. And so for me, it was the fact that I was going to do everything I could to be a better man, so that this time actually meant something. I wasn't going to do time. I was going to invest time, which if you take from the understanding that time is a commodity, you can give it away, you can trade it, or you can invest it, which means at the end of the time, I end up with more than what I started with. Now, 12 and a half years are gone from my life as far as that, but I am stronger, wiser, a lot smarter, and
have something
definitely
to show for it.
Exactly, a lot to show for
that
it.
That was a big point for me too. Because as most people know, I did a long stretch, and a lot of the middle years, a lot of the early years into the middle years, they were pretty dark. And then I found that transition whenever I found the mentality, the perspective. Man, this just can't all be for nothing. I have to do something with this. I have to have something to show for all of these years of my life that are being spent in here. If I come out of this place with nothing to show for it, that's going to be the true tragedy. That's going to be something that can beat a man down.
Absolutely.
But if I come out at least and I have something to show for it, at least I can feel better about myself. So yes, sir. That's a big thing. So for everybody out there, your IPO, which you will see that in the parole process, that is the institutional parole officer, and they are assigned to the units. These are not voters, right? In my own personal experience, these are very young parole representatives, like most of the time months on the job, and they gather your basic information, and they would write down a statement from you, a very short statement, right? You could talk to them all you want, but what they're going to write down and send to the people that vote in your file is your basic information, your release address, contact information, whether you have a transportation, a job, all this basic stuff, and they're going to send it to the voters. They are not a voter, so your loved one does not need to prepare themselves like if they're going in front of the parole commissioner, and their life is on the line. It is a very important interview. Just understand that is not actually somebody that's going to be voting on your file or on your parole. Right.
Yeah. And let me say this too, that like in that one thing that IPO does do, the information that they collect, some of that information will be used to determine, when approved, your parole conditions.
Yes.
If the offender has a significant experience or a significant history with substance abuse, they're going to be assigned AANA. And so different aspects of that. And so just know that there is absolutely, it's not just that, one thing, if you have a criminal history, they're going to ask you about those things.
Yes.
One thing, and I've got to talk about this, and we're going to talk about it every single episode this month, is remorse. Is that if you do not take responsibility for your past mistakes, if you say, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't do this, guess what? You're probably not going to get out of prison on this go around. The standard thing that I see is whenever I see people denying their offense, I see 2 and 3 year set-offs, sometimes 5 year set-offs.
Denying or downplaying.
Yeah, absolutely. So to walk in there and go, hey, I am 100% responsible, and I am remorseful, and I hate that I hurt so many people. I hurt the victim, I hurt the victim's family, my community, my wife, my kids.
Family,
And because of that remorse, I've sought rehabilitation, and here's what I've done. And now I've had this paradigm shift. I now look at the whole world differently. And I look at, I realize now, the man that I am now, I wouldn't make those same mistakes because I'm not ignorant like I once was. I'm not giving any excuses. There are no excuses for my behavior, but I'm taking full responsibility. And now I look at things differently, and I'm moving forward.
Well put, brother. Well put. Moving on from the IPO, just another one, since it was mentioned. How would I say it? people that have done 20 consecutive years in prison or more without ever getting out. There is a policy, and I used to have this policy. I just spent about 30 minutes looking for it, and I can't find it right now, but I think I still have it. I have the black and white policy that states, it's actually an administrative directive, that states if you serve 20 consecutive years, you're supposed to have a personal interview with a parole commissioner, meaning probably going to be your lead voter. But this is actually a person that's going to vote on you, right? 20 years, you're supposed to get that. Do you call it a right? I don't know, because there's an AD on it. Does that make it a right? I'm not sure.
Well, the
Because
policy says shall. And so shall is an the policy says shall. Shall is an absolute legal term. And remember, all of these policies are subsequent to legislation that was passed in Austin. And so the legislature met, a bill was presented, they met, they determined on something, they crafted a new directive in the administrative code or the government code. And that then became a policy later on down the road when the board met and determined.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
exactly how that plays out. I have a letter right here from the Board of Pardons and Paroles, official, right? In response to me, because I did well over 20 years and I personally never received, I did 25 years. I've never seen a parole commissioner, never had a personal interview with nobody. I was denied parole twice, but it says right here in black and white, it is at the discretion of the parole board whether or not you will be interviewed by a voting parole panel member. Interviews will be conducted if you have served 20 consecutive years or more and have not been interviewed by a voting panel member during the last 2 parole reviews. So again, there it is, but it doesn't always happen. It's supposed to happen. And if you serve that much time, I would say you want that to happen, right? You want to be able to speak to the person that is going to vote on your life, on your freedom, rather. You want that opportunity. And I tried to get that opportunity too, but I never did. So just be aware, people.
And so this is a good time to mention, because you brought up a really good point. Now, in the event of denial, when a board rule is violated or when they consider inaccurate information, you are entitled to request special review. Special review, I will say this, special review is not very often approved, but if you've got a fight it. If you've got an opportunity, fight it. One of the things that at Favor Legal we do is we make that super affordable because we want people to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yes.
So we do special reviews at $2.99, which, when we go in and we look at the statute, we look at their case, we look at what was said, we look at the denial reasons, all of those different things. And then we craft a custom motion requesting special review for a parole denial. And I think that's really important because, again, somebody who doesn't have their stuff together isn't following up and researching. And the fact that your loved one is doing the research or you're doing the research, I think that stuff's super powerful.
Yes, absolutely. And the phrase that echoes in my mind as you say that, special review. That means if you got a denial, if you've been set off 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year set off, whatever the case may be, you may have a chance to get a special review and not have to wait that much, all that time to get reviewed again. And these people are experts at finding the reasons to be able to get a special review in front of the board. These people deal with this stuff all the time. This is what they do. So, I would definitely want an opportunity to come up again if I got a 1, 2, or 3 year set off before I have to wait all that time again, especially if I feel like I have legitimate grounds, right? But secondly, even if we know that a low percentage of special reviews actually get granted, but some do get granted, that again, like Kobe Bryant said, man, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. Take your shot. Again, all you can do is take care of your business. You can't take care of nobody else's, man. You never know. Take your shot. Yes.
And I'll say this is that I had a similar thing happen to what happened to you. Guy came up, did 20 flat on a 40, did not see a commissioner, saw the IPO. The IPO said the commissioner is going to come around. Next thing we know, he gets denied. We file special review. He gets a 3 year set off on a murder case. And we file special review and they brought him back up. And so that within itself is a win. And that three
That's
went
perfect.
to a 1. And so even then it's great because now we're back
That's a win.
immediately 6 months later. Absolutely. It's a win.
Yes.
Especially with the parole board, because very rarely do they ever say that, hey,
Yes.
we got this wrong.
Right.
And so all of those things happen. And so he got a 1. And so that to me is the quintessential definition of now he's potentially out 2 years sooner than he would have been, because he knew what his rights were and what the statute says and what the policy said.
Yes, sir. So let me shoot the ball at you, Brandon. What is the next myth that you think a lot of people believe that we want to address?
Everyone is automatically released on parole once eligible.
Once eligible?
Once eligible.
Yes.
Okay, so the legislature, again, everything starts in Austin. The legislature passes legislation, they pass laws, and specifically we're talking about the Code of Criminal Procedure. And so the Code of Criminal Procedure says that for certain offenses, you have to do X amount of time before you're eligible. On non-aggravated or non-3G, you'll hear that often, which it's not 3G anymore, but they still use that terminology because it's just, So they say that on those, you have to do a third. You have to do a third of your time, and so before you become eligible. Eligibility means that you come under review on your first time. You'll come up 6 months prior to that date. You'll say you're presently under review. They'll start getting your documentation, all that stuff within that time frame, and then sending all that stuff to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. They'll ask for your packets if you're going to send anything, and that's how that goes. So let's say, for example, on a 5-year sentence, non-aggravated, non-3G, you have to do 7 months and 3 days before you come up. So by the time they leave the county, again, 6 months before, they're automatically under review.
Yes.
Even if they did very little time at all, because you're going to wait 30 to 60 days to catch. Yeah, exactly. All the time. Some of the most busy IPOs are the ones at receiving units like Gorey and Holiday and
so many turnarounds, as we call them.
Exactly. So which means that they'll come in, they'll get their number. They've got a nonviolent case. They'll grant them parole and shoot them right back out, or shoot them to a program unit and shoot them out. Right. So the fact is that parole is not guaranteed in Texas. And the legal terminology is that no one has a liberty interest to parole, which means that parole is not guaranteed, meaning that you're simply eligible. I have a 20-year sentence. That 20-year sentence, they could make me do every single moment of that inside prison and have no duty to give me parole because it's discretionary.
Discretionary being the word.
Yeah. And then we get into another deal. So on non-aggravated sentence, they have what's called mandatory discretionary release. Yes. Now, if you're a person that understands the English language really well, you'll know that mandatory and discretionary absolutely contradict one another. Yeah. And so what that means is they will give them they can give them a date. I've seen guys get shipped to the release unit and they'll take their short way away from them. So we call this a short way. We'll call this a short way. Yeah. So this mandatory release date, or they call it release to mandatory supervision, RMS. And so they'll take that. Now on an aggravated sentence, meaning that it's aggravated assault, aggravated robbery, or any violent offense that's under the 3G deal, you have to do 50% calendar time. You get no credit for work time. 50%. You get no credit for good time in Texas under the 3G. Yeah. So, which is interesting because your loved one will get a timesheet, and that timesheet will have work time calculated, good time calculated, and because they're 3G, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for them at all. So I was
just trying to find a timesheet right before the show to show everybody that right there. And it'll have what we refer to as the parole calculation date, or your calculated parole date. That'll be on the bottom of a timesheet as well. I used to have like 10 or 12 of them. I just couldn't find one right now. I'll keep looking.
Yeah, I threw all
Yes.
that crap away. I just I just could not stand to
Yes.
look at it anymore. So just
I get
understand
it,
that
man.
parole is not guaranteed. Now,
No.
and I say this because I want you, as some of you go and you start talking to parole professionals, parole attorneys, paralegal firms, those type of things. If anyone says that they can guarantee that your loved one's going to get out, run,
Woo.
because
Yes.
nothing is guaranteed. That is when it's in our contracts. It's on our website.
Yep.
Whenever I talk to somebody and they're talking about us doing it, understand the parole board is fickle. It is all discretionary. We cannot
Yeah.
guarantee anything. I just want you to understand that. And once they say, I
And
absolutely understand, then we move forward.
that's one of my biggest personal problems with it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, man, it actually offends me on a personal level that these people, these parole commissioners, these voters, because they're not all commissioners, but the people that get to vote, there's no real honest oversight. There's
No.
nobody that these people really have to answer to. There's nobody auditing their work, their decisions, if they vote with consistency, if they are using the criteria. And I know they got a little point list.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. I've calculated my own points on there and all that. But are you actually using that? Because the way we hear it on the inside is that each individual voter deals with so many cases on a daily basis that your file is getting an average of less than 1 minute before they vote on it, unless you have parole representation, probably, to make them, pay more attention to it and at least give, hear something about you.
Yeah.
That's the way we hear it.
I would say the average that I've heard from talking to different commissioners, former commissioners, things like that, is 5 to 7 minutes on average.
Okay.
But in some times, like for example, I submitted a special review not too long ago. The special review got kicked back because they were so short staffed. The person that was doing special reviews
Oh,
got
wow.
kicked to doing, looking through packets
Yeah.
and stuff. And so
Right.
that kind
Other
of stuff
duties.
happens.
Yeah.
Right. So the second myth I want to get to, which is a great
Yes, sir.
one, is good behavior means you'll make parole. Uh, and here's the thing.
Sounds good.
So I know guys. I know one guy right now that I can particularly. He has done now 13 years, and he has never
Yes.
gotten a single disciplinary case. I
Tell
just
me
had a
they
client.
didn't.
They
Tell me
set
they
him
didn't
off
hit him
for
with
2
that
years.
manipulation. Yeah. For
No.
what was reason?
Well,
Manipulating the
so it
system.
was nature of the offense, those type of
Okay.
things. Again, though the parole reasons for denial, I think there's 12 of them, 11 of them. They're very arbitrary. I've seen them put
Yeah.
somebody, history of substance abuse, and this guy told in sociology and his parole interview, never used a substance a day in my life. I've never used any drugs. And then that
Right.
was the grounds that we got him up for special review. They still
Yes.
denied him, but took that one off and XYZ. And so
Yeah.
again, we go back to the lack of oversight with parole. But this is where we go to the greater good. And so even if I do all the right things and I don't make parole, I
Yes.
still have the peace of mind to know that I did all that I could do, regardless of their reason. And I want to say something. The biggest thing for me is character conformity. Are you conforming to the character of the person that you want to be? And that's with anybody, inside, outside, that are judges, doctors, lawyers, attorneys,
Right.
legislators, or the
Anybody.
offenders that are in seg. Absolutely. Are you doing things today that move you closer to the point of who you plan to be tomorrow? And so every day that was the case. And so a lot of times what happens is, and pardon me in saying this, but a lot of guys just say, F it. It doesn't
Yes.
matter what the
Right.
parole board, I could do the right thing and they're going to deny me anyway. So I'll just do what I want. I'll just wild out. And so
Because
the
they
problem,
see so many contradictions,
and that
so they're like, danged if I do, danged if I don't.
Yeah.
So, and they get frustrated. I get it.
Zig Ziglar said it best. He said, people work
Yeah.
harder for a hope to gain rather than a fear of loss.
Yes,
And
sir.
so,
That is true.
and one of the things that
Hope
we've
is
talked about,
the motivator.
you and Ashlyn have talked about is we intend to write a bill that's going to
Yes.
allow for a point system for classes and good behaviors, which will say that, hey, look, if you do the right thing, you're going to get out on this date.
Yes.
Now, if you get a case, that date moves further away by a quarter or 6 months. But if you take classes, it can be reduced. So those type of things. And that is, and here's what that's going to do. And we're kind of getting more into the correctional side of things, but it needs to be mentioned.
It's all connected, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to cut down staff assaults. It's going to cut down contraband. It's going to cut down offender assaults. It's going to cut down on suicides. It will make prisons safer.
And I believe that, and I believe the reason it will, one of the reasons it will, is because it's given the inmate, so to speak, the guy incarcerated on the inside, it's giving you a clearer picture of what your future is going to look like, depending on how you behave. As it is now, as it stands, a lot of guys are unclear on it because, like you just described, we see contradictions every single day. We don't know what to believe or what's going to work or what is effective. So I like your fallback, regardless of what works or what is effective or whatever's trending right now. You can always fall back on building your character, man. Are you satisfied every night when you go to sleep? Are you satisfied that you've done your part? Okay, there's a few more things I can do, but have you done your part? Have you put in the work and the effort in your own life, your own future? What could be more important to you, right?
Yeah. And the other thing too is that if I have a absolute, one of the things that's very difficult whenever you're incarcerated, and I think it's even difficult out here, as we've seen since we've been out, which for me will be 1 year tomorrow.
Hey, congratulations, brother, man.
So super excited.
Yes, sir.
And
y'all see this? I just got to point out, successful ex-convict entrepreneur. Yes, they are out here, and there are more than you think. Yes. Proud of you, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And so in that, if we talk about having exclamation points and periods instead of question marks. So for me, 10 years was a question mark. Am I going to get out then? But if I have an absolute exclamation point or period, I will get out on 2/12 of 22, right. Which I got set off 2/22 of 22. And that when you think about it is now it's like, okay, I don't have any time to waste to play games. I need to get on my workout. I need to get on my reading. I need to get on my business development plan. I need to get on trying to create and cultivate relationships outside so that I can go ahead and make the steps that I need to do. And that's what I did, because I set that date that regardless of what the parole board decides to do,
you're focused
I'm going to be ready that day. and then if I get a set off, then it's okay. That just gives me more time to be better.
Right.
And I will say this,
great perspective.
I will say this is that 1 year difference made all the difference in the world to me. I would not be where I'm sitting today if it were not for that extra year. And so I'm super thankful for that, man.
You don't hear that very often, sir.
No, well, I mean, just like you and I say that prison saved our lives, and it's, when we think about that, it's like, it's absolutely true. It's all about perspective. It's all about how I look at something. I can look at the worst situation in the world, and me as a Christ follower, the worst thing that ever happened was our Savior being crucified, but it's also the best thing that happened. And so it's all about perspective. If I was there at the foot of the cross looking at that, I would absolutely be devastated. But now 2,000 years later, it is such a hope, and it's something that I love. And so it's all about perspective. I look at incarceration differently. I looked at that set off differently. Was I disappointed? Absolutely. I'm not going to lie. I am human.
It's like we learn in CIP. They tell us your perspective is your reality.
Absolutely.
To you, it is. It ain't got to be to nobody else, but it's your reality.
That's right. And the thing about it is, the hardest thing to do is change the way that people think. And it's interesting. And I say that because it's really important to tell your loved ones when they're incarcerated, as I tell all my clients, is that, hey, look, who you hanging around? Because show me your friends, I'll show you your future type thing.
There you go.
If you're not talking about anything, then we don't need to be talking.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that, I've always said is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room.
Yeah. And so if I need to be around people that if they're drinking and drugging and they want to play in the gangs and they want to play with cell phones or contraband, like miss me with
We
that
know where
stuff.
that leads. We already
Yeah,
seen all
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. And we work
No,
those type of
thank you.
situations every day. Not
Yeah,
fun.
no, thank you.
Okay, so the next myth: the
Yes,
parole
sir.
process is fair and consistent. We've been covering that. It is anything but. It is super subjective. It is arbitrary. It could be quite literally, what
Well, I made
happens.
up my mind. I made up my mind to think of it like every time I go up for a vote, I think of it as, man, I'm really just rolling the dice. I give myself a bare minimum. I always have a 50-50.
Yeah.
Even if I'm like not prepared, or if your loved one has been in trouble, they might even be on a G4 wing. That doesn't mean they don't have at least a 50-50. Seen it
That's
happen.
right.
Like I said,
That's
no
right.
real logical rhyme or reason. You really, really never know, so that's, again, you fall back on, if I don't know how they're going to vote or how they're going to act because of lack of consistency, what can I do? What do I have power to do? And you go back to your checklist. What am I prepared for? What am I not? What can I do to help me?
Yeah.
Right.
And let me say this too, is that if you think about it, okay, the average denial rate across all, so there what, six regions, seven?
Yes.
I think they
6.
created, oh, 6. Okay. I knew that
I
they
think it's still
just did
6.
some shifting. 6
Yeah, they did.
regions, and in the 6 regions, the combined blended rate of denial is approximately 60%.
Okay, I've
60% of
never heard the
people.
blended rate. Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, if you look at if you look, so, Amarillo's 38%, Angleton's 41% of approval,
All right.
and so they'll get to all that, and that's what
And
they'll
you
do
get your
is,
average.
yeah, and so you'll take that, divide by 6, and that's your blended. And so typically the blended is it hovers right around there. And
Okay.
so essentially, and the way that I've understood it is that it is all about numbers. Think of
Yes.
TDCJ like a hotel. Well, what is a hotel? What is a hotel owner's desire for that is to
Full
remain
capacity.
full capacity. And I want to make sure that there are no beds left empty. Every
Yep.
month, TDCJ is constantly getting new teletypes for new people that have orders of confinement that have been sentenced that need to be housed in TDC. And so that system recognizes that we need to make a bed free. So which means we need to let somebody go.
Right.
And so the system comes up whenever somebody comes up, and it will give a recommendation, approve or deny. And so then from there, and that system on the back end is seeing all these things that parole voter is not seeing, which it doesn't have necessarily 100% to do. And we don't know what the algorithm looks like. They won't release their algorithm.
Right. Of course.
We know it has something to do with that. It doesn't have to do with the good behavior or the character conformity of your loved one. It has to do with the needs of TDCJ. And that is 100% not what it's supposed to be about. It is
And they're
supposed to
never
be
gonna
about,
they're never gonna admit that, but yeah.
it is supposed to be about rehabilitation, preparing these people to come home and to be your neighbors, the people that are going to positively contribute to your society, that are going to create new jobs, that are going to pay taxes, et cetera, et cetera.
That's kind of disheartening to hear, brother. Though instinctively, I believe you. I mean, the way I think of it as you broke it down is that unfortunately, we're all reduced to a number, as we've said many times. But not just your TDC number, but it all breaks down to $1. So many things break down to $1 at the end of the day. And full capacity, empty beds, cycling. From what I looked up, I did a little bit of research not too long ago, and I seen that something on the average of about 40,000 people are released in TDC from TDC every year, and they intake about 40,000 every year as well. Just that cycle. I seen another number just recently that said 60,000, but from what I looked up myself, about 40,000 in and out a year.
So it's somewhere in there. It's somewhere there. And let me say this too, is that don't hear what we're saying and go, well, then what's the point? I'm not going to do anything. That is the
No, hear the hope
absolute
side too.
exactly. And so that being said, just because the computer recommends denial,
Mhm.
the same way that IPO or that, I'm sorry, not that IPO, that parole voter or commissioner, they can say, I'm going to approve anyway, even though it's recommending
Yeah,
denial because of something that I've seen and or heard.
correct.
You know, I'll tell you that we have a package that we do that's allows interactive. And so we put a QR code on
Hmm.
some of our packages,
Yes,
and that QR code is linked to a video message from the offender and from the family. And
that's
so
beautiful.
I had to find a way to get around it, man.
That's
And
beautiful,
so
brother.
and
Get them in
and
there.
so
Yeah.
the cool thing is that what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to see if they did it, and they looked at it. All 3 voters looked at it because it was
Awesome,
something
man.
different. It was
Woo,
something
you
different,
cannot beat that right there. That is
and
genius.
so because it was all about and I literally got the client on the phone, and he goes and just talks about how remorseful he is, and
Right.
we
Just
sent
speak from
that
the
to
heart.
our videographer, and he put together this wonderful deal. His daughters got on and talked about how much their dad has changed, and so all of that, and we're still waiting on an answer 2.5 months later from
Right.
after
So
they do that.
they're
So
doing a lot of considering. Yeah.
man, and so the thing about it is the more information you can give them, that
Yes.
5 to 7 minutes that they spend on your file, give them something. Give them
Yes.
something. Give them something
Yes.
to consider. Let them see that somebody cares about them, that somebody loves them, that they have a
Yes.
plan, that they have a purpose, and they recognize it
Yeah. Something
because
that
it's
is
those.
well thought out and realistic.
Yes, absolutely. And because what happens is those people that have plans and purposes and realize them, those are the people that don't come back. You and I've said
Yeah.
it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll continue to repeat it. Prison is a character college. When you learn the lesson that you have come here to learn, you will graduate and you'll never return for a refresher course. And so
Correct.
that is ultimately the thing. So continue to encourage your loved one to continue to grow.
Yes.
Please do
That is
not,
so correct.
please
Yeah.
do not enable them to continue to get involved in criminality. Do not
Hmm.
enable them to continue to participate in the contraband game. Do not enable them to continue to do all of these things just so they can be comfortable. Some of the
Yes.
thing is that our loved ones need discomfort in order
Hmm.
to understand and to grow, to come to a realization like, hey, this behavior is not it's not beneficial to us. I
Correct.
had a discussion with a group of offenders recently at one of the units, and I said, listen, I talked to one of the guys. I said, what's the most amount of money you've ever held? $200,000. You held $200,000 cash. Yeah. Okay. And so you had $200,000 cash. And what kind of cars did you have? I had this, I had that, I had this, I had that. Okay. Here's a question. How much time did you get? Well, I got 35 years. Okay. So let's take that $200,000 and we'll even add in the value of that car and let's divide it by 35 years. How much did you make a year? And you want to
Wake up
about,
call.
bro, you want to talk about a different look. They're like, well, I never thought of it that way. But
Of
that's how you need to
course.
think about it because you made
Yes.
less than minimum wage. And
Yes.
now, and then you add in the fact that your kids don't have their father, your wife doesn't have
Mm,
a husband. You
man.
know,
The emotional toll.
or you get that call to the chaplaincy. Your mother
Yep.
passes, your father passes.
Yep.
You have got to get your head on. And I'm telling you, I've absolutely had shouting matches with some of my clients and go, hey, and it's funny because I use the terminology from Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey, where
Yeah.
his secretary, he's walking into his office, says, so and so's, he's on the phone and he got arrested again. And he picks up the stop breaking the law, a-hole. Uh, that
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, stop doing stupid stuff. You have a wonderful wife that's out here waiting on you. You have a
Yeah.
mother that cares.
I
You have
guess
kids.
it really has a direct correlation with
Big
the
time.
other famous quote from Liar Liar. The first one I thought of. Can't you see I'm kicking my own?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
exactly what we're doing.
That,
That's
man,
exactly
more
what you're doing. You're
all
kicking
the
your
time.
own.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Stop kicking
And
yourself.
yeah.
Sheesh.
And so that, and I mean that this is something that I was real hesitant to say. And we talked about it last night when we kind of did
Yes,
our
sir.
pre-meeting, was that uh, it is, I know you loved your loved ones. I know that. I know you love them. I know you want them to have, a locker full of Zuzus and Wham Whams. I know you want that. I know you want them to be able to do that. But provide for their needs, maybe not all their wants. And because to me, it's all dependent on what they're doing to be productive. And so I have a friend who has just got locked up on a parole violation. And he's like, hey, man, send me $15 a month for I'll do that. But I want to see, I'm going to be monitoring your Adovo app. And I want to see that you're taking classes and doing that. You show me 15
as
classes.
You're building.
Yeah, exactly. As long as I see that you're growing and you're trying to do something to go forward, give me something to work with where I know that you're getting better and I'm not enabling you to sit on your butt and read books and to smoke tune.
That's part of what I coach and mentor on with any of the guys that I mentor that are expecting to go in, that are fighting cases or keep pushing court dates, but they know they're going on the inside. Some of the mentoring I do through HeartCheck is to prepare these men and their families for that experience they're about to experience, and to tell them these exact lessons. As soon as you go in, these are the things you need to sign up for. This is what you need to get involved in. This is where you start building. And what are your personal goals? Where do you want to be at when you get out of here? What do you want your future to look like? And then we'll talk about how to realistically build that and make that happen. But you got to put in the work, and I'll help you do it. But they need to be aware of how to conduct themselves.
And let me say this, and I'm glad you said that. You and Shannon, y'all saw a need and y'all filled a need, just like we have done. And I'm so thankful for you guys, because y'all are doing something that nobody else does. Nobody else walks the family by the hand going into the situation. You from the offender side, dealing with the person who is incarcerated, like, hey, don't buy all that crap at the county jail. This is what you need to get ready for. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. This is how you stay by yourself. Yeah. And then Shannon from dealing with the loved ones. Hey, this is how you deal with commissary. This is how you deal with visitation. This is how you deal with grievances and issues like that. This is what he is absolutely required to receive. And that's
right. What paperwork the family needs to fill out to be able to receive information on their loved one. Like if anything, God forbid, happens to them on the inside, TDC doesn't readily release no information. They don't care if you're immediate family or not. If you don't have proper paperwork and stuff filed to grant you access to information, then you're probably not going to get it, or going to have a very hard time about it. Right? There's so much things that people need to know that can make the entire experience a little bit less traumatic, because it's going to be a horrible experience no matter what. But if you go in with the right knowledge and preparation, you can make the best of it and get the most out of it. That's the goal, right?
That's right.
Rehabilitation starts day one, not 3 months or 6 months before your release, right?
Yes, exactly. Which we've kind of covered this one. If you're denied parole, you're stuck. That's obviously not true. You have special review. You're going to come back up. And so the thing is I was going to do the most that I could possibly do between in that 12-month period, and I did.
Right.
And I'll say that whenever I came back up, I had a parole attorney. I will be transparent. I had a parole attorney, but the interesting thing is that I did so much in that 12-month period that I didn't have a hearing. I saw the IPO. But I
rubber stamped you, huh?
They rubber stamped me and approved me for my program and release. And so
that's a blessing.
And I've never seen that happen. Now I'm not saying it doesn't
sounds like
happen
an answered prayer. Yeah.
It absolutely was. It absolutely was. So parole is the same thing as probation. Okay. So vehemently wrong. If they were on probation and didn't successfully complete probation because it was so stringent, they're probably going to be all right on parole. More often than not, I would say that parole is more I would say lenient. Let me give you an example. If for example, your loved one is an SO, they're a sex offender, and they're going to have sex offender conditions. The there's a different statute that handles probation cases, which means that like you're dealing with Chapter 42A of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, and that chapter is allowing for. I'm about to have to let the dog out here in just a second. That chapter is allowing for parole, for example, on SO cases. It's 1,000-foot rule from child safety zones on probation. Parole is 500. So that's just an understanding that those different things are available. Let me let him out. So talk, Shannon.
Go ahead. Another thing that we discussed, and I think it puts it very succinctly, is generally speaking, probation is something that somebody gets put on prior to incarceration. We're going to put you on probation instead of send you to prison. But if you mess up this probation, you're going to prison. Parole is post-incarceration, coming out of prison, generally speaking. So big difference, and a lot of people they think it's semantics or there ain't no difference, but two totally different worlds, two different planets, guidelines, stipulations, all of it. But circling back to parole, man, I know there's a lot of questions out there. Like I said, we're going to be hammering on parole issues all month long this month. And like I said, hopefully we'll shed a little light into this shadowy realm, right? Where people get to basically play God with other people's lives and futures. That's how I personally always felt about it. And like I said, it tended to really personally offend me, that I, somebody got to have that type of authority over me. But especially if I didn't feel like I was being treated fairly, but that to the side, we'll continue to go down through there. Any other parole related questions that people have out there, please feel free, shoot these questions to us at either Texas Prison Transparency Project, HeartCheck Prison Strategies Group, or is it favorlegal.com?
It's favorlegal.com.
Favorlegal.com.
Or mail at favorlegal.com.
Or mail at favorlegal.com.
Yeah, and so this last myth that I want to cover, it's super important to talk about this. Victim input doesn't matter. And I would say that is probably the biggest myth that we see. Now, it's not the most prevalent because a lot of people don't talk about it. And let me say that anyone in the community, loved one of the victim themselves, they can all protest your parole. So now if you get an 11D, which is other, that's typically means that you have a protester.
Don't victims or victim families get notified when their offender comes up for a parole vote?
That is a law. They have to be notified. They have to be notified.
That's a law.
And so they provide the DA, and so it's in the offender's pen packet when they're put into TDC. They have to tell them what's going on. And so and now let's say that they change numbers, changed addresses and stuff, and they can't get to them. That doesn't mean that you're not going to come up for parole. You're still going to come up for parole. But
they just missed their opportunity to protest if that's the case.
Yeah. Now I will say that if there is a protester, you're more on the negative side than on the positive side, because it all depends on the viewpoint. Just from
my true after once, like I've just heard inmate.com that they might set you off for a protester once, but will they continue to set you off for the protester? I don't know.
I will tell you that, and I've dealt with several different cases, and it's just like, you can't get the same 3 times or more one time. None of that.
Yeah, right.
They can give you the same thing every single time.
That's a very common one too.
Yeah.
The reasons that they quote, y'all hear that? The reasons they quote, this is a lot of stuff. A lot of your loved ones believe that they're not supposed to use the same reason to set me off again that they used last time. They're not allowed to do that. That is not true. Listen to the man.
Yeah, and I'm telling you that is, we get that all the time. Well, no, they can't do this, so that's my reason for special review. There's no policy that says that. There's no legislation that says that. So don't. And again, I tell
let's
people
debunk that one. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, I go back to where I had a guy that he got set off, came back up after a year, And I said, okay, what'd you do in that year? Well, I didn't do anything. Okay, so let's practice this ideology. So if they set you off and your file looks the same, except a year older, and you still haven't done anything, then are you really seeking rehabilitation? Are you really reformed?
Yeah, what does
Are
that
you
say?
truly remorseful? Do you have a plan? Do you have support? And those things are super important.
Yeah.
So whenever I talk about
Yeah,
the
more
four-part
than
ideology,
in other areas of life, this is where actions speak louder than words.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know, there's this commonality that I tend to actually believe. I dispel 99% of the crap that I hear from inmate.com. But the one thing that I think that I hear is you get set off for 1 year to see how you're going to handle it. And I don't
Right.
necessarily think that that is the case, but that's a great way to look at it. That is a great way to look at it. If I can look at it that way, where I look at it as, okay, I've got a year to show them that I'm really serious about wanting to go home. Yeah.
Yeah, they're testing me. I'm being tested right now. So let me man up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk real quick about
Matter of fact,
things that can help you make. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have something else?
Oh, I was just gonna dealing with that topic right there.
Sure.
We're actually gonna deep dive in the next episode into the actual reasons that parole uses to deny all of our loved ones parole, and we'll take a deeper look at that on the next episode. So yeah, easily, man. Segue and moving on. What are you about to bring up?
Absolutely. That the things that can help somebody make parole in Texas: a clear disciplinary record, no recent or serious cases. So you have two different types of cases. You have major disciplinary infractions and minor disciplinary infractions, and so and they really do look at them differently. And so you can that's all important. They look at that. Completed programs now. And I need to talk about grad for a second. Okay, if you have a loved one who has been confirmed as a gang member, or the TDCJ terminology is a security threat group, or STG, and they have a STG designation, they must go through grad before they go to parole, come up for parole. And we're having a meeting with somebody within TDCJ on the 25th to talk specifically about this. I had a client that was new in the system. His family hired us to assist him on his parole. He came up. The lead voter talked to the mom and told the mom, "Oh, well, he's a gang member. He hasn't gone through grad. We're not going to approve him until he goes through grad." But he wasn't even allowed to be on the grad list until 18 months after being incarcerated. And so he's literally, it's a guaranteed set off. And so that policy contradicts the legislation. It contradicts the legislation. Yeah, probably two.
Yeah.
It contradicts the legislation. The legislation always supersedes policy. And so, and that's where we go into that. And so I filed special review saying, and I'm waiting on the response back now, because this was just a few weeks ago. If this policy or this legislation says that he has to do X amount of time, he's done X amount of out of time, and now you're saying he's ineligible because of these policies, then you should fast track him into grad or allow him to take some derivative subsequent to and allow him to have that removed.
Because like with other programs, they take your release date, like with trades, college certifications and such, they take how much time you got left into consideration. You don't just fall wherever you fall on the waiting list. They pick and choose based upon time criteria. Yeah, awesome. That's how I've always seen it play out. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely another big point.
So vocational therapy
with parole.
Yeah, they're
a whole other world.
It absolutely is, and it's I tell
like
people it's like algebra. If you change any part of the equation, the whole equation changes. And
everything changes.
Yeah, and so if I change, it's all about variables. And so if I take another class, like for example, one of the ones that I know that parole holds in very high regard is Bridges to Life.
Yes.
It's a victim impact remorse. It's an awesome class.
I took it.
So did I. If you take Bridges to Life, then they look at that. So let's say that I get a set off. I take Bridges to Life during that 12 months. My parole package looks completely different than it did 12 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fresh.
To the right voter, it absolutely looks completely different. So those vocations, anything that they can transition into the free world and actually begin garnering revenue from.
I've always been told, I've always heard that it is important to have at the very least at least one OJT while you're on the inside also. And OJT is an on-the-job training platform. It's a certificate, meaning you've held down a job for at least 6 months minimum and done a satisfactory job. So at least one OJT and at least one trade. More is better, but at least one and one. The OJT shows parole that you can hold down a job for at least 6 months. And the trade shows parole that you have a skill that is hireable and can produce you an income legally.
That's right.
So they need to know those two things to know you can support yourself, right? So that makes sense.
Yeah. What's the whole adage? Yeah, the whole adage, those that fail to plan to fail. And so if you're if you're not taking advantage of things while you're on the inside, and for example, for me, I already had a bachelor's from university, and so they wouldn't let me take any education. So I had to seek outside vendors that would provide me with education, and I was able to get 3 more degrees, including my master's in there.
I'm mostly self-educated myself.
And so it's if you're not going to give me the education I need, then I'm going to get it myself, because ultimately, who's responsible for it? You're not.
You.
And that's
your life.
So and so that brings up a really good point. Let's completely look at this arbitrarily and honestly. TDCJ has no duty to educate our loved ones. They have no duty whatsoever. The duty rests solely with the incarcerated person, meaning that they need to seek out education at every single step. Now, there are statutes and policies that require them to have a GED or a high school equivalency when they come out. Yes. Absolutely. But beyond that, there's no duty.
The barest minimum. The barest minimum.
And that's if they're even going to let them take it, or if they're able to get on the waiting list, or if there's classroom availability. There's all these different aspects of the possibility. The other thing too, that I know somebody that had too much time to take college, was in college, taking college, was a 4.0 GPA. Wow. They took him out. And so there's all these different aspects of things that just change everything.
But at the root of it though, is the point that we need to encourage our loved ones that are on this journey, men and women alike, that, okay, it sucks that they messed up. We have to pay a debt to society. But while you're paying this debt, your life isn't on pause. Your life and your time span upon this earth are not at a standstill. You need to continue living, and you need to continue to build yourself until they develop their own passion for that personal growth. Because most people that start self-building, self-improving, they start to notice it and they start to feel good about it, and they develop a passion, and that passion is their motivation to continue with the right support structure around them to continue encouraging. Yeah,
that's absolutely
that's what we want our people to do. That's the path to walk, and that's the way you can take a bad situation and you can get the most out of it. You can actually make something good out of it. As bad and as ugly as it is, as horrible as an experience as it is to go through, it can actually be for something good. You can make it be for something good. Yes.
And I'll tell you, an interesting thing is that I recently had a talk with a parole officer out here, out down in the Waco area, about a guy that I knew that was going to come up and see me. We were going to sit down and talk. I've been mentoring him, and so we're going to sit down. We're going to meet next weekend and just sit and talk for a little bit. But he called me and he's like, "Hey, I've got another guy that really could use some guidance. Would you be willing to sit down with him?" And so what I see happening is, what happened was somebody talked to me and helped get my mind right. I talked to another guy and helped get his mind right. He talks to his parole officer. He sees that my mind's right, my heart's right. And now he's wanting me to try. So that type of positive influence is absolutely contagious. So if you have a loved one who's incarcerated and they're on the wrong path, and you know if they're on the wrong path, then reach out to one of us and let us try to do what we can to get involved. HeartCheck's whole business is about really getting in there and say, hey, look, brother, you're looking at life the completely wrong way, and it will not serve you and your family in the long run, and will not allow you to be everything that God created you to be.
Yes.
And so, I really
we're already products of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So parole packet. So shows change, it shows goals, it shows a reentry plan. I said earlier I was going to talk about the 4-part ideology, and I'll real quickly go through it. Remorse. I admit that I committed my crime. I'm responsible. There's nobody else. There's no excuses. I'm remorseful. I've sought rehabilitation. I've taken classes. I've self-educated. This is what I've learned. This is what I've studied. Because of what I've learned and what I've studied and I've rehabilitated, now this is who I've become, and I've created a plan. So this is my plan, and it's all encompassing. It is a personal plan. This is who I'm going to hang out with. This is where I'm going to attend church. This is where I'm going to live. This is who I'm going to be around, and this is what I'm going to do for a living or for education.
Clear vision.
Yeah. And it's got to be, we talk about SMART goals, simple, manageable, actionable,
actionable,
reasonable, and
timely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
I had to think about it real hard.
Yeah, me too. But those are super, super important. And so we need to be doing all we can to be able to drive them to, like, do you really have goals? Are you staying high all the time and you're slumped over?
One of my favorite sayings is that goals not acted upon are not goals. Those are daydreams.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
big
good.
difference.
That's good.
Big difference.
That's good. And so one thing that I whenever I got an opportunity to talk to 100 G4s the other day, and G4s are medium custody guys, and one thing I said is like, hey, look, stop looking at TDCJ to change the system for you to help you be the man that you're called to be. You guys have the ability to change the system. You guys have the ability to stop smoking K2. You have the ability to stop talking on cell phones and stop getting on social media and getting your dumb self caught. And so all of these different things, you've got the opportunity to do those things, and to get in a book, or to talk about something, to talk about those things that are deep down in you that you don't want to talk about, that the traumas that happened to you as a child that you've never dealt with, and that continue to bring you back here. Like, let's stop, as loved ones, let's stop saying TDCJ is responsible for doing this. They are, but the quickest fix to fixing TDCJ is for the guys and gals in white to change their hearts, to change their minds, and say, hey, look, I'm going to be the best me that I can be. That's it. And if 100 people do that, 100 people will change an entire unit.
Right.
If 10, and it starts with one person.
Be a role model. Yeah.
It starts with one person, and that one person influences another person, and that's how it changes. So, so let's go over the common reasons for parole revocation.
Yes, sir. Absolutely right.
Positive drug tests. Positive drug tests, you're going to get set off. I can almost guarantee it. I've never seen anybody get a positive drug test and make it. Yeah. If you have had a previous time that you failed to report to your PO, that could be a reason. And so one of the reasons for denial that we'll talk about next week is previous failed periods of supervision. And so if if they violated probation and got their time, that could be something that we encounter. And so that's why it's so important for us to show the rehabilitation and the change. Now, if you were out on parole and you were arrested for a new offense, that could be a reason for the denial. That could be a reason for denial.
Blue warrant.
Yeah. Contact with victims. And I will say that aggravated assault, aggravated robbery, kidnapping, sex crimes, specifically sex crimes, there's actually statute that not only is a violation for the parole, it's actually a criminal offense for them to make contact with their victims. And for sex crimes, there's also a specific statute that permits a sex crime victim from filing a protective order. And if you violate a protective order, that's an automatic felony on top of the other. And so just keep all of that in mind.
That's automatic. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you know that now some of the situations is whenever you have a family member who's a victim, and there's very, very little difference in that. And so that comes into the victim getting in touch with the victim impact panel, victim services, and victim services can allow for counseling Yeah, you got to go through them. They'll put you through counseling, and they will allow supervised visitation in some instances after a lengthy period.
Makes sense.
So if you're leaving from an approved area, now this can be inside and outside. We hear a lot of out of place cases. Out of place is almost always an automatic major case, which means that because what they see is that if somebody's out of place, they're typically trafficking and trading, and so there's typically some type of contraband, and so that's a huge red flag. Failure to attend required programs. If you have a required program that you're supposed to do and you don't do that program, you're not going to make parole. If I had a guy that was
this required. What is the name of that paper with the requirements on it? The checklist, the ITP. I was trying to think of the acronym.
Individualized
ITP, your individualized treatment plan. Yes, correct. Anything that is checked off on there is required. You will not make parole until you complete that. Right.
Yeah.
Beyond that,
it'll say in for need. Yeah. It'll say in for need. If it says in for need, they must do it. Now, like for somebody that has a substance abuse past, it'll say need on two different ones. It'll say need on pre-release treatment center, IPTC, inpatient treatment center. It'll say need on both of those. The parole board will choose which one you have, and then they will assign you to one. So it's either going to be the FI-5 or the FI-6. For people who have sex cases, there are 3 different types of programs they can go through. They can go to the FI-4, they can go to the FI-9, or they can go to the FI-18. It's supposed to be commensurate with their risk level, low, medium, and high. It's not always how it works.
Okay.
Sometimes it's about availability. And so in that, I had a guy that was in the FI-9 program, and he didn't want to admit to his offense, and he said, "Send me back to my unit." They pulled his parole. Done. He came up again and
you're still not accepting responsibility.
And they gave him a 3-year set-off.
In the beginning,
he made parole. He was granted parole release conditional to his pre-release treatment, and he gave it away. I pleaded with that guy.
Wow.
Don't be stupid. Well, I've only got 5 more years to do. Imagine what you can do in 5 years.
Is that it?
I look at what I've done in 365 days, 5 years.
I guess that circles back to the person has to want to be a better person, and the person has to truly crave their freedom from incarceration.
Yeah.
You have to want those 2 things enough to put in the work, man.
Yeah. Institutionalization is real. Institutionalization is real.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I know that personally.
If they have any weapons possession, that is what is that showing the parole board? That is showing a continued propensity to commit violent crime. Now, granted, one you could say is that, it's for protection.
Self-defense.
That's not going to fly out here anymore.
No.
One of the conditions of your parole is you are not to possess weapons. And especially if you have a violent crime, during the time that you're on parole. Failure to maintain employment or housing on previous releases. Like if you have a bad history of homelessness, that's one of the things that, because
you're not allowed to be homeless on parole, right?
Absolutely not. They will put you in a state-funded halfway house, period.
Yep.
They have to.
Yep.
That's some of the reasons why it takes
not
people
allowed to be homeless on parole.
Yeah, that is some of the reasons why it takes people so long to get state-funded halfway houses that are incarcerated, because people are homeless out here.
Yes.
And so lying or admitting things to parole officer. If you have had like times where they've lied to parole officers, and some of this stuff is for that, or if you've had or if they went to their IPO and they lied to their IPO about something, those things absolutely, and they find that those things are infactual. That does not look good. I tell people, look, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm overly transparent because.
Yes, sir.
And granted, let me say this: I am.
Yes, they need to know what they're dealing with.
Yeah, I'm far from perfect. I suck at life. I need Jesus every day and in every way. And I've made a lot of mistakes. I came out.
Welcome to the world, brother.
Yeah, I came out very spiritually arrogant from being incarcerated in prison for 12 and a half years. However, I've learned that even in those times where I was ashamed and didn't want to admit to things, that whenever I step into the light, it's so much more easier to live in the light and just go, okay, what you see is what you get, 100% truth, bare metal, here it is, this is what it is. Because then people know, like,
A
okay.
lot more carefree. Yeah.
And here's the thing about it, it's going to make your parole officer trust you better whenever they know, like, okay, I don't have to worry about that one. I'll go focus my attention on somebody that I really need to be concerned about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And as far as parole on the outside, once you're granted parole, you know, one of the big things I tell people that I've noticed myself, man, is employment and housing. You have steady housing and a secure job. Once you have a secure job making regular income, parole becomes a lot easier because they know how you're paying your bills. They know how you're feeding yourself and paying for gas. And, you know what I'm saying? It makes sense. They need to know how you're providing for yourself. So if you're completely legit, then yeah, that helps a lot, a whole lot, like major deal. So check it out, brother, man. Last message. Anything you want to tell everybody out here, man? Tell us your contact information. I got a couple people in the comments here asking for contact information again. We will post it. We will post it again in writing, but feel free, man. Last message you want people to know on parole, inside, outside, whether you're fighting for it, whether you already have it, anything you got, brother, whatever you want, and give us some info.
Choose today who you're going to be. To the guys inside, the ladies inside, to those loved ones that are going to be talking to them, choose today who you're going to be, and every action today needs to be about helping you be that way. To the loved ones, if you love them, sometimes loving them is giving them space. Sometimes giving people grace is giving them space. So if they are still in their addiction cycle, and don't give your financial resources to allow them to continue to remain in addiction. I see that far too often.
Don't enable it. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't, because here's the thing is that they have an opportunity to invest in being better. And then finally, if you are coming up for parole in the next few years, you need to be preparing every day. This is talking to the loved ones and those that are incarcerated. And so understand that there are people out there that genuinely care. There are services, there are companies like ours, like Shannon's and Ashland's, that absolutely we're 100% geared towards you, to helping your loved ones, to getting them out and keeping them out. One of the things that we also offer in our premium services, we offer a reintegration mentor. We help them get on their feet to walk out their plan when they get out. And so I'm telling you right now, that is absolutely so important. And so that's my message is, if you have someone who's coming up for parole or they're fighting their case, or they're dealing with a child custody, child support type issue, please reach out to us. Favorlegal.com, mail@favorlegal.com to go to the general staff email. Or if you want to call us, the number is 469-466-2335. Again, that's 469-466-2335. And let us know what we can do to help you. We genuinely care. We love you, and we want to see you being everything that God created you to be.
Yep. And that's what it boils down to, man. What can we do to help you? Because we know the life, we know the experience, we understand. We have lived experience in all of this. So we understand as most people will never be able to understand. At the root of it, what can we do to help you? If you need parole or legal help or assistance or guidance, man, Favor Legal. You hear how incredible these people are. You hear how well versed the man is off the top of his head. This is his comfort zone. This is what they do, man. I love these people, man. I love working with them. If you need help on another part of the spectrum of this experience, pre-incarceration, trying to prepare family and person going in, contact us at HeartCheck Prison Strategies Group. We're .org. All right. Our contact information's on there, our personal phone numbers. We're here. If you have problems with your loved one on the inside that are serious, contact us. We do active advocacy work for those that are currently incarcerated. Just about anything that we can help you on. If it's even a question, contact us and ask. Your odds are pretty good. So with that being said, man, we're going to wrap up this episode. Wish everybody out there a great day. Man, I want everybody to stay alive, and I want as many people to come home as possible. But just as importantly, I want them to come home and stay home, man. It's lovely out here. Need everybody to be out here living like we're meant to. So with that said, brother, let's tell everybody goodbye, man. We'll hit them back up next week, or maybe in a couple days, actually.
Yeah. Goodbye. Love you guys. And remember, if you're favor, your family.
Yep. I like that, brother. Love y'all, man. Thank y'all for being with us today. Goodbye.
All right.